Nemesis versus Nemesis Reborn. Let's talk about it. So Nemesis Reborn has now been open for 4 weeks at the time of recording this, and after many rides, thanks to the Towers Times ERT for that, I have finally made my mind up on which one I prefer. Now, anyone who spoke to me on opening day, I did give a different answer to what I'm giving now, because first impressions definitely help, but they don't mean everything, so take that with a grain of salt. Here's my final decision. Overall, I hate to say it, but I prefer the original. Hear me out. The original Nemesis creature was designed in the early 90s by John Wardley, and the overall feel and atmosphere really reflected that. The theme music was a little bit cheesy, the monster looked gory and a little bit Hollywood horror, and it just really reflected the times, not to mention the red waterfalls. I think he really didn't shy away from gore. The new Nemesis creature has now changed to such an extent that it does kind of feel like a whole new monster to me. It has one eye, not two, fleshy skin has been repainted millennial grey, and as much as I hugely appreciate and prefer the new special effects, a small part of it feels a little bit empty. If I'm being really picky, the fact that they've really transformed that iconic green eye into something so different kind of adds to that. Forbidden Valley also went from, well, a valley to a military containment zone, and it kind of feels like it's gone a little beyond recognition as opposed to building upon what we already had. I know that this was logically done to tie in with Nemesis Subterra and this new direction for the Phalanx, and I do feel like Alton Towers had their hands tied because it did seem like the only logical step from what we have, but it just feels so different that it's lost its spark a little bit for me. As for the overall ride experience, I won't be dragging the dreaded rattle into it because I don't think it's fair. The coaster's still wearing in and I don't think it impacts the ride enough to really change my review of it. But what I will say first and foremost is, why did we have to lose the front row queue? Even before Nemesis was reborn, I always chose to ride at the front of the carriage. It's just an entirely different experience, and as John Wardley says, it allows you to let the coaster take you on an adventure journey, and he himself advised me to ride the front row for my first ride, so that's how impactful it was to me, and having that choice taken away is really disappointed me. I do understand that logically it was taken away so that the station could be more themed, and I love the look of the ribs and the fact that the story is being told that we are in the creature at that point when you're about to board the ride, but to me it wasn't a sacrifice that was worth it. I think they could have easily kept the front row queue and had that bit of theme in, and it just really disappointed me when I realised. It took me 4 rides to even get lucky enough to ride on the front, and I know for some others it was much worse. I do feel like Nemesis Reborn's lack of roar adds to that emptiness a little bit. It was one of those things that you could hear before you even saw Nemesis, and it made the ride so much more intimidating in a way that sound effects and soundtracks can't really do. And I know that they kind of had no choice but to get rid of that with how new B&Ms are made, but it did really impact how I felt about Nemesis, and especially as I go back to the park and ride it more and more, you kind of notice that little bit of something missing. The final nail in the coffin for me, as well, as petty as it is that during a talk from the project manager of Nemesis Reborn, they recently confirmed that every single piece of the old track that was removed was scrapped and they didn't do anything with it. I think it could have made great merchandise, it could have been used to theme the area, maybe a cool bench could have been made out of it, just something. And that to me kind of makes me feel like, even though we did get the old logo brought back and the soundtrack was very much kept to the original, I feel like the actual heart and soul of the ride was lost a little bit on me. And I just can't shake that feeling, so I feel the need to just say it in the review. I want to stress that despite my decision, I am still so made up that Nemesis Reborn even happened. My favourite roller coaster in the world got retracked and rebuilt for another 30 years to come, and what Alton Towers have achieved is nothing short of a miracle. The special effects, nods to the original, and actors around the area still make this my #1 operating roller coaster in the UK. It has really given Forbidden Valley a new lease of life, it is just maybe not what I would have chosen to do. But I think probably no matter what they would have done, it wouldn't have felt quite right to those people who were just so attached to the original. And I think some of us are always going to be a little bit biased like that. So that is my little Nemesis versus Nemesis Reborn comparison. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're not too tough on me in the comments, and let me know which one you prefer. Bye.